Formula 1 returns to Spielberg for the Austrian Grand Prix, but unfortunately, Formula 1 will not be returning to the Canadian Grand Prix this year. The F1 Journey Canadian Grand Prix has officially been called off. Canada, unfortunately, has been hit by a massive earthquake and multiple aftershocks, which unfortunately has caused damage to the track, which is going to take some time to repair. Canadian Grand Prix organisers have confirmed that there's been damage not only to the track surfaces, but also to grandstands as well, which does mean, unfortunately, that they cannot host the Grand Prix this year on safety grounds. That has meant that we are looking at potentially either no Grand Prix to replace it, or one that will. And it has been confirmed by Formula 1 that the Mexican Grand Prix will indeed replace the Canadian Grand Prix, and hopefully we can see the Canadian Grand Prix back on the calendar next season. But it's an unfortunate shame, but unfortunately nature has struck on the Canadian Grand Prix. Moving on to the race news heading into this weekend, it was Porsche that were fastest in practice. Porsche looking competitive around this circuit. Ferrari and Mercedes were extremely close behind though in all three sessions. One team in terms of the constructors that were not really trying to show their hand was McLaren. They were definitely keeping their cards close to their chest and focusing more on the long runs, and there was a reason for it. All the teams are trying to come up with the best balance in terms of setup, as there is some rain expected to come at some point during the race itself, which is definitely keeping all teams on the edge of their toes. But who's going to get it right and who's going to get it wrong? Well, let's find out. It's time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 Journey for you guys today here on the channel. This is round number 10 of season number 10. Now, before we get into today's video, a little bit of a disclaimer and a little bit of a boo-boo on my behalf. So halfway through editing this video, or halfway going through the replay cameras for this race, I ended up, just as per usual, what I tend to do is I obviously record these videos and I then just get the replay cameras. But whilst the replay cameras are just scrolling on, I'll tend to just have some music blasting out from my phone. Little did I realise that when I clicked record on this specific video, I may have also ended up clicking to capture my microphone. So halfway through, I couldn't even hear the racing at that point. It was just me and my music. So yeah, I've had to basically cut the sound out. So you'll see from about lap 15 or 16 onwards, there'll be replay cameras, there just won't be any audio, specifically because it's just my music. So apologies about that, but heading into this race then, as you can see itself, our qualifying has been absolutely dreadful. Okay, so as you can see, we're on the grid now for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix, and basically reflecting on qualifying a little bit, we just didn't have good pace. We don't have great pace around here at all, and it's going to be very difficult with these intermediate conditions. Will give us an opportunity with the 5 lights as they go out now for the start of the Austrian Grand Prix. It's been a decent getaway from us, but the secondary phase of the start, not too brilliant from us. But as we remember from a previous occasion, I went around the outside into the first corner. We do just that, and we're up into 15th place now. A couple of places gained there off of that corner as we make our way now through the run up towards turns 2, which is technically not even a corner, and then turn 3 down into the hairpin. This is where you can make plenty of overtakes here, but we're just a little bit too far back to really mount a proper assault going through those corners. So for the time being, we were initially going for a double overtake, but we're not even going to get anything at this rate now, as back comes Van Dorn, back comes the BMW, I believe it's Nick de Vries, but eventually now, braking hard into turn 4, we are able to get those positions. Back end sliding a little bit there from ourselves, but nothing too courageous there as we now press onwards on the end of this first lap here. And as you can see, we go extremely wide there though, into the middle sector. A little bit of contact there with Van Dorn as we move our way now through into the end section of the middle sector here. Back end sliding again now. It's getting used to the track conditions in the wet, because of course, it's been a long time since we've had a wet race, but also it's been a long time since I've even played this game. So yeah, a lot of things need to be addressed here as Reese sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. And as we get across the line for the end of the first lap, we are in 13th place, but we're going to try and make amends and go a little bit higher at the grid there. A little bit of contact there with the Jaguar of George Russell as he went a little bit wide into the first, or he lost the rear end a little bit into the first corner. But we've got a great run here on Russell, and the overtake is done there. Now we're also pressing onto one of the Renaults here. I think this is Daniel Ricciardo as we make our way through, but there's contact there with the back of the second Jaguar of Callum Ilott there as we were trying to get around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. We couldn't quite get past the outside there of of him because we had a late breaker that went a little bit wrong for Ilot, but eventually now making our way down in towards turn 4. Can we get past Daniel Ricciardo? Yes, we can, and up into 11th place now in this Grand Prix, and that is some progress that we dearly needed to make there. So that's absolutely fine, but yeah, it was a really close moment there. I had to double check as well and make sure that I did not damage the front wing, but fortunately we did not. Let's have a look at the start sequence though and see what happened throughout the grid. Well, as you can see, initially the getaway was alright, but then as we got through the gears, it really didn't go too well. I had to go slightly off track a little bit there, just to avoid the cars around me because I was completely boxed in at that point. And as I said, we swooped around the outside and that was that. Now this is the start, but from the front. Now normally I do a replay camera from a couple of different onboards, but this time around there was a three-race scrap out front between Sam, Hamilton and Reese, and I basically wanted to show it from, well, all of their perspectives all at once here. So as they make their way now up the hill here, heading in towards the hairpin of turn 3, they're about to go 3 wide here into turn 3. Sainz is desperate to try and find a way through in the Porsche further back. Reese manages to get that outside line. It works beautifully for him. He leads the Austrian Grand Prix. Now it's a drag race between Sam and Hamilton, making their way down in towards turn 4. Hamilton's trying to stick with him. Sam, though's got the inside line. But we know that the outside line is the better line in the wet weather conditions, and for Lewis Hamilton's sake, it works nicely. Lap 5 of this Grand Prix, now you can see we've got Pato O'Ward here comfortably within the pack there as he makes his way through, but he's not comfortably in the pack anymore because Pato O'Ward there spins the car around on the exit of turn 1. Oh, we nearly do the same thing there coming out the exit of turn 1, but that's horrible for Pato O'Ward, and Charles Leclerc is now trying to pass, I believe this is Lando Norris here, in the Ferrari now, around the outside, into turn 3, just after O'Ward has spun. They've both already inherited one position, but Charles Leclerc fancies another, and he gets the other one, but back comes Lando Norris, around the outside now, heading down in towards turn 4. Will this be the move for Lando Norris? Can he retain the position that he was inherited by the spin of Pato O'Ward? Yes, he can. Great action there between the Audi and the Ferrari. Lap 9 of the Grand Prix now, and as things currently stand, we're up into P10, we're in the points due to the spin from Pato O'Ward, but as you can see, the pack is pulling away from me, and I'm, well, falling backwards in this Grand Prix here, as we've got George Russell now trying to go for it down the inside, into the sector last corner. We've got a little bit wide there, trying to make sure we give enough space to Russell, but eventually, we just about have the legs around the final corner. There's Pato O'Ward in the background, as now Daniel Ricciardo fancies a run here on George Russell as they make their way up in towards turn 1 now. It's a lovely little bit of a move there. Oh, back end slides for Daniel Ricciardo though. Can't quite get it done. That might put him under pressure though from further behind. It's going to, as Valtteri Bottas in the second Audi now fancies a run here. Daniel Ricciardo going up towards turn 3. Ricciardo though will turn defense into attack and go for it on Russell now into turn 3, but Russell is more the wiser to Daniel Ricciardo's dive bombs, and he stays in front of him for the time being, and Ricciardo now is back where he was, and he's back on the attack and no longer on the defense. But from my perspective, from my race, things are going really, really badly. And I genuinely don't know what it is, but what we are going to do is, for the past 3 or 4 laps or so, I've been speaking to Jeff on, it's not even Jeff on the radio anymore, I don't know who it is anymore. I've been speaking to my engineer, and effectively what I've been told for the past 3 or 4 laps is that there is no clear fastest tyre right now. It's right on the crossover, and they don't know whether the dry tyres or the inters are faster. And considering I'd heard that for 3 or so laps or now, I decided I needed to do something, because I don't know what it is, but I haven't changed the AI difficulty to make it harder. I haven't made it easier. I've kept it the same, but around Austria, these AIs are rapid, and I have no answer to their pace. So what I'm doing now is taking a gamble, basically. I'm now pitting early for these medium compound tyres, but unfortunately, as you can see in front of me, my early gamble, 3 laps later, has not paid off, because that is the Jaguar of George Russell, I believe, directly in front of me. It is. Also, Daniel Ricciardo's jumped me as well. So, actually, what I've done is made myself worse off than where I was before, as Russell there goes into the back of my car, and also Van Dorn there losing the rear end as well. But yeah, unfortunately, that's not actually worked. It's actually got worse for me in this Grand Prix. I was in P10, I'm now in P11, and all of a sudden now, I'm trying to chase Daniel Ricciardo, but funnily enough, I can't even catch him. He's actually starting to pull away from me in this Grand Prix as Russell and Van Dorn behind, really going for it with each other now. But up ahead here, we're now going to have a little look at, this is Carlos Sainz trying to attack Lando Norris, and down the inside for Carlos Sainz. He makes that move stick, but Lando Norris there, crucially, he's gone a different way to the rest of the field here. Lando Norris has gone onto the hard compound tyres. The rest of the field are all on medium compound tyres. As far as I'm aware, only Norris is pitted for the hard tyres. Now, Sainz did get past Norris. Norris got back past Sainz. Sainz now wants to get back past Norris again, which they're going to do. They're just absolutely flip-flopping with each other now as they make their way through in towards turn 3. But this is going to give Lando Norris a second bite of the cherry with the DRS here, but he doesn't make it stick on that occasion. Lap 19, though, this is an opportunity for Lando Norris to get back past Sainz. This is crucial, though, for Norris that he's keeping with these guys, because these guys are probably all going to have to stop again. We've been all told that going on to the medium tyres, we need to stop again in this Grand Prix. For Lando Norris, though, he might just be able to go to the end of this Grand Prix. And if he can hold track position, like he seems to be doing right now, that might put him in a good onus for the later on in the Grand Prix. But as you can see now, Charles Leclerc here is trying to attack Carlos Sainz. Sainz didn't get DRS on the third straight, which allows it. That's put him under pressure now from Charles Leclerc. But these two scrapping away is giving Lando Norris that buffer that he so desperately needs. He just needs 1 second. He gets that, and he's going to be in absolute dreamland coming on towards the later stages of the race. As we see here, Sergio Perez and Callum Ilott going for it now through in towards the middle sector here. Ilott won't back this one down, goes down the inside here of Sergio Perez. Perez, though, should use his experience and swoop around the outside. And on the outside line again for the second part of the middle sector. But for Ilott's sake, though, that's a great move there. But what's not going to go so well is for Oscar Piastri. You just saw it there, a puff of smoke coming from the back of the Ferrari. It's game over for the Ferrari of Oscar Piastri. He's out of the Austrian Grand Prix. There goes Lando Norris, his teammate. There goes Charles Leclerc, who's still scrapping away with Carlos Sainz in the background. Those two having a great battle. Speaking of those two having a great battle, let's go watch some of it. Well, here we go then. This is down the inside now in turn 1 for Carlos Sainz here, but Leclerc's going to have a bit of contact there. Is going to have that outside line and carefully swoops his way through. Does get DRS as well to allow himself to get a little bit further ahead, further on in the lap. But lap 24 of this Grand Prix, Sainz got back past Leclerc, but Charles coming back at him with the DRS now, down in towards turn 4 they go, even turn 3 should I say, and it's a little bit close there between the pair of them now, but as you can see on the straight now, this is where the Audi should have a little bit more straight line speed versus the Porsche, and he's got that in abundance here. None of them though have got DRS now down this straight. They were neck and neck in the detection zone to the point where none of them even got it, but there goes Carlos Sainz. He's got the move done, but not yet though. Back comes Charles Leclerc into the middle sector now. This is where we saw Sergio Perez miss out versus Callum Ilott, but this time around, the man on the outside gets the job done. And for us now, lap 24 of this Grand Prix, and you're probably thinking to yourselves, actually, you're not doing too bad. You know, you're in P10, you're struggling, but you're not doing too bad. But you've caught up to Daniel Ricciardo. Nice job, you know, you clearly got some pace. No, Daniel Ricciardo's actually got a problem. I've been told on the engine by my engineer that Daniel Ricciardo has an issue, and I'm able to pass him because I was able to close up on him by doing so. Unfortunately, not via my own raw speed, which is quite annoying. But this is where now I need to take yet another gamble, and you'll see it in just a minute here as we go now down in towards the end of the middle sector here. There's Lewis Hamilton making his second pit stop at the Grand Prix. I'm due to make my second pit stop. I should be making it right now. I'm currently in P7, and as we come across the start-finish line, we're about to go up into P5. I've been monitoring the tyre wear, and I'm going to take the risk and go all the way to the end of the race on this set of medium compound tyres that we put on lap 12. That's a 25-lap stint on these tyres. Yes, I know there's 36 laps, but, you know, you have to do all of lap 36 as well, so you technically cross the line for lap 37, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, everyone is two-stopping in this race. Here's Lewis Hamilton now overtaking Reese there. Everyone has gone onto the mediums after the inters, and they're going back onto another set of the mediums. Apart from Lando Norris on the hard tyres, he leads this race now, and he's trying to go to the end of the Grand Prix. That is exactly what I'm going to do. Otherwise, I'm just going to be settling down for a P9, and I can't accept that. You know, in a championship battle where there's a race I'm struggling with, I've got to do something, and this is what we're doing. We're gambling on a one-stop. Whether it works, or not. We'll have to wait and see. But here is Nick de Vries and Stoff Van Dorn. They're going for a little bit of a scrap here in the middle sector, and it's going to be Van Dorn that just about initially came out on top there, but de Vries swoops it around the outside and makes that move stick. Back on board with Reese here, who's attacking Lewis Hamilton now in the Mercedes. And as they make their way down in towards turn 4, Reese now holding the outside line here, but he gets a little bit close to Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton, though, will try and fight back here as I hiccup mid-commentary, fully professional there, as Lewis Hamilton now goes around the outside here of Reese, but Reese just gives him a little bit of a nudge there. Close contact, but they're side-by-side here. Will they remain side-by-side? Not quite. Lewis Hamilton, unfortunately, has to back out of it. Reese maintains position on this occasion, and as they make their way down in towards the second to last corner here, this is where Reese now can just hold on for a little bit, but DRS is going to now start to come into play, and crucially, these guys are battling so hard that Lando Norris up ahead is kind of just, well, happy with this. He can accept these two fighting for his own sake. And of course, this is reminiscent as, oh, there's contact there between Hamilton and Reese now. Reese still gets DRS here. Hamilton's not got it though. Sam, I was about to say, Sam crucially now has got DRS here. He's now getting involved in the act and goes through past Lewis Hamilton into third place of the Austrian Grand Prix. Out of nowhere, the McLaren now fancies getting involved in all of this. But Lando Norris out front will be loving this scrap right now. But crucially, here's another problem. Reese doesn't have DRS here. Sam's got DRS. Will Sam all of a sudden just go for a double overtake here and snatch multiple positions? Not quite. Reese has got the position, but Sam switches on Reese, goes to the inside line. Down he goes now. First is Reese, but Reese just holds on in there. Sam, unfortunately, not able to get involved in this battle. But for Lando Norris, I was saying, in the Ferrari out front, keep it going, keep it going. That's all he needs right now. Of course, these guys on these fresh tyres, too busy squabbling with each other, not thinking about the race victory. But now as they go into the last corner here, this is a great battle here between 3 of the 4 championship contenders in this season of the F1 journey. As Sam now gets to the DRS here, goes around the outside of Reese into turn 1. Sam, though, fancies a run here Hamilton fancies a run at Reese. They make contact, though. Both of them have DRS now down the straight. Who's going to come out on top here versus Hamilton and also Reese? Reese looks like he's just got a little bit more straight line speed than what Hamilton is possessing. But crucially now, the two of these battling has given Sam an opportunity to pull away. Do they both have DRS here? No, they don't. Only Reese has got it. So Reese will hold on now versus Hamilton. But crucially, Norris has put himself in a position, Sam has put himself in a position where he doesn't have anyone attacking him. He can go for a free attack now on Lando Norris. Now also having a look here, we're now on lap 32. Back end slides a little bit there as we struggle with our tyres now, and as you can see, we're still in 5th place, but we now have just 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, as here comes Carlos Sainz now round the outside of us now in all of this. We've now got 5 laps to defend for our lives versus Leclerc versus Sainz. This is a battle for P5, which, like I said, if we didn't do what we're doing right now, we'd be scrapping for, well, we'd be just settling for a P9 at best. Right now, we're going to go for it and give it everything now. These guys are on fresh medium compound tyres. They're in faster cars than what I'm in this weekend, and I'm going to have to really just go elbows out from the right from now till the end, and that's what we're doing here. DRS now enabled for Carlos Sainz now. Makes his way up in towards turn 3. But we're going to break super late here on against Carlos Sainz. Force him wide. Give Leclerc the inside line. But Leclerc will get cut off in there. And we've got DRS. Crucially, we can just deploy a little bit of the battery. But crucially, save some as well. And that's what we need to do. Make sure we be careful with the battery usage that we've got here. As Charles Leclerc now has a little look here towards the outside of the second to last corner. We go a little bit wide though. That allows Charles Leclerc a little bit of impetus here to have a look. But eventually, through the last corner, we're ahead of Charles Leclerc for the time being. But DRS will be enabled on this straight. Leclerc will be closing in on us. The rear wing is open. Down in towards turn 1. Leclerc takes the position. We'll swoop it around the outside though of turn 1. And then back end slides on the exit of the sausage curve. Both Sainz and Leclerc have got DRS still on this second straight here, but they'll be fighting each other now up the hill. But I'm taking the middle of the track here. Here comes Carlos Sainz though, who's got a super run there through in towards turn 3, but we'll get the outside line and then cut off his exit just to give him a little bit less time. It's actually Leclerc, I think, we were cutting off the exit to. Both of them though have got DRS here. This could be spelling trouble for us. They're both going for it now. There goes Carlos Sainz, but the Sainz locks up. We'll take the position back off the Sainz. That was so close there. We had to be really careful. I was prepared in that moment to sacrifice one position, but back comes Sainz for more. Into the middle sector now. This is really close between myself and Sainz. Around the outside here, desperately trying to hold on versus the Porsche. We've got no tyres at this point. They're completely gone. Still trying it here. Sainz is ahead though. Into the sector last corner. Diving in. Getting back past Sainz again. Into the last corner. We'll cut that one off. but we've still got another 2 laps of this to go. But crucially, we give ourselves a tiny little buffer to work with, and the 2 of them are scrapping, going tight to the inside apex of 1. That's absolutely fine by me. We can just get on the power, and there you can see, look at the tyre compounds now, 73% on the rear. Remember, in the F1 game, 75% and above is when you hit puncture territory, so we're pretty much going to hit puncture territory. This is literally, well, for the tyres' sake, either get to the end or drive until they explode. One's going to happen. We're either going to drive across the line all fine, or we're going to drive until they explode. That's what we're risking here right now, and this is only for a 5th place in this Grand Prix. This is how much I'm just trying to limit the damage from what's been a really poor weekend on my behalf in terms of pace here. But here they come again, comes Sainz and Leclerc, 3 wide now into the second last corner. We'll go in there, there's going to be contact. There is contact. Last corner now, and we've got 1 more lap to go of the Austrian Grand Prix. And speaking of 1 lap to go, this is Sam now. He's been doing what he can to catch up to the back of Lando Norris. Norris has done so well to go onto a one-stop strategy here, but here comes Sam down the inside of Norris. Norris desperately trying to defend this position. Of course, Ferrari, they've won a race this season. For McLaren, though, for Sam's sake, they've not won yet in the F1 Journey Season 10. It's a shock to me. It's a shock to everyone. Round the outside of turn 4 for Sam. He's got the lead of the Austrian Grand Prix. Sam takes it for the lead, and that is surely now going to be taking itself to victory for the Austrian Grand Prix, and it'll be the McLaren's first win of the season. It's a shock to say that because they've had such a good car, but they've just not got it right. They've been close on so many occasions. Final lap of the Grand Prix, though. Unfortunately for myself, the defense of P5 goes away, as unfortunately for me, Carlos Sainz obviously saved up his battery. He used everything on that final straight there with the DRS. I have nothing I could do to defend that, but Sam does cross the line and wins for McLaren. But for us, though, we're now going to have to do everything we can here. We can't settle down because Leclerc is still on us now as we go in towards the last 2 corners. It'll be a disaster if we lose out after so much defending. But as you can see, round the last corner we go, and unfortunately for us, it's not a great weekend, but we've done so well to limit the damage there and cross the line to finish in P6. What a race. Wow, that was, I really was sweating a lot during that Grand Prix. But there you can see, for the first time in season number 10, McLaren are back on the top step of the podium. Sam, he's had so many second places, especially at the start of the season. I remember the Japanese Grand Prix, he had P2. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, I think it was like 5/100ths of a second between him winning. And I'm sure he's had a couple of others as well. I think Singapore, Singapore, he also had P2, and he was just behind me in that one. So Sam really does deserve this one. He's been great this season, and finally gets that win for McLaren. Lando Norris, that's heartbreaking for him. He did the right strategy, though. The right call was to do the one stop, but Norris was in the faster car, so for him it was more beneficial. But as you'll see when I speak about my race in a bit, it was actually better to do it that way. Reese picks up P3 with Lewis Hamilton finishing in 4th place. Both those 2 drivers threw away a P2 and a P3, depending on, you know, which way round they actually did it. You know, the 2 of them were scrapping so hard with each other. It was reminiscent of the 2 of them battling each other last season in the Austrian Grand Prix, which allowed me to come along and actually, I think I only took 2nd place in that race. I don't know if I won it or not. But yeah, it was Hamilton and Reese. They were going for it so much, but it was when they were in the McLaren and the Ferrari. And again, they did it, but if they just kept themselves clean for a bit, they would easily have had enough pace to get onto the back of Norris, but it is what it is. Carlos Sainz, he did manage to overtake me on the final lap of the race. Like I said, I didn't have a great exit out of turn 3. The tyres were dead at that point, but at the end of the day, as the AIs do, they always put maximum ERS into the final lap. That's exactly what he did with the DRS as well. I tried, but I just couldn't defend that. I really couldn't. And then for us, we finished in P6, and my strategy gamble paid off. The first one didn't. My first one going early onto the dry tyres didn't work. I actually lost out to Ilott and Ricciardo. But the second time around, as I was in this race, I mean, obviously, like I said, I had my microphone on, but you probably it wouldn't have caught my voice at that point. But I was just thinking, I've got to do something here. And I was constantly, the pit window was lap 24. What I decided to do was just wait, and on lap 22, lap 23, lap 24, I just kept checking how much the tyres were wearing per lap percentage-wise, and I just came up with a solution of, sod it, let's just go for it. I'm either going to finish in P9 and get 2 points, or I'll give it everything I've got and see if I can try and make a one-stop work. And all things considered, it worked. It was the better thing to do. So we limit the damage versus Hamilton, our championship rival. In the end, I've only lost 5 points to him. It could have been a hell of a lot more. Charles Leclerc finishes in P7. He'll be disappointed with 7th place, but of course, we just managed to fend him off. Daniel Ricciardo finishes in 8th place. With all the battling that we were doing, Ricciardo was actually slowly but surely catching us, but he didn't quite have enough in the end. But good result considering he did have car issues in the race. Sergio Perez finishes ahead of his teammate Stoffel Vandoorne only by a couple of hundredths in the end, but Red Bull get both their cars in the points, so congratulations to them. Looking at the second half of the table now, Theo Pourchaire finishes in 11th for Aston Martin. Close, only about 2 seconds off the points, but unfortunately not close enough. Nick De Vries, a disappointing final stint for him. He was definitely in the mix. He was scrapping alongside Vandoorne, but just didn't have it in the end. Bottas finishes in 13th for the second Audi car, with George Russell 14th for Jaguar. Pato O'Ward, a damaging race for him in P15. He was in the points quite nicely, but unfortunately the spin early on in the race just threw him completely off course. Mason Wood is 16th for BMW ahead of Pierre Gasly in the Renault. Callum Ilott is 18th for Adidas Jaguar. Colton Herta is 19th for Aston Martin, and Oscar Piastri is unfortunately last. In fact, Herta and Piastri both DNF'd from the race. Lewis Hamilton got the fastest lap with 102.470. Looking now at the Drivers' Championship to see how things have changed. Well, here it is then. Lewis Hamilton actually extends his lead at the top of the championship over myself. The gap now rises to 18 points. Lewis Hamilton's starting to creep a little bit clear now at the top of the championship. I really have to take points out of Hamilton at the next race at Monza to try and just get back into this championship fight, because otherwise Hamilton's been taking points off me quite consistently now. For Sam, he moves up to 3rd in the championship, ahead of Reese now in this championship fight. He's on 130 points. Reese is on 126 points. Only 4 points between them, but overall the top 4 is separated by 35 points in the championship. Oscar Piastri, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz are 5th, 6th and 7th, and why I mentioned them all in the same sentence, they're in a little bit of a scrap of their own actually. 7 points is the difference between Oscar in 5th and Sainz in 7th. Oscar, of course, DNF'd from today's race, but he still maintains his position. 2nd place for Lando Norris gives him a boost in terms of pace, and Carlos Sainz does well to get some points as well, and he is on 70 points. As you can see, Stoffel Vandoorne in a little bit of a lonely area here. He's on 51 points for Red Bull, 110 points off the lead, and Charles Leclerc jumps in front of Daniel Ricciardo in the battle for 9th in the championship. He is on 38 points while Ricciardo is on 37. And the next race, as I was mentioning between myself and Hamilton, is the F1 Journey Italian Grand Prix. Now, looking at the Constructors' Championship to see how things have changed. Well, there's only been one change between two teams. We'll go for everyone now. As you can see, Mercedes is still leading the way at the top of the championship, comfortably on 305 points. Porsche are on 194 points and are very close now to breaking the 200-point barrier in this season. But Mercedes are very far clear. And it's specifically because, well, myself and Hamilton are both top of the Drivers' Championship 1 and 2, but at the end of the day we've just been that consistent in terms of our performance, whereas for the likes of Porsche and McLaren in particular, they've got one key driver, which is Reese and Sam, and then they've got their other drivers of Sainz and also O'Ward that are just not quite there in terms of performance. I'd say Sainz has definitely had the performance, but during that Middle Eastern stint in particular, where he DNF'd, I believe, from Bahrain, Saudi, and also Singapore, just literally killed his momentum. But you know, he's been doing well, but for O'Ward, he needs to step it up to try and help them in the battle for second in the championship, because it's still on. Third in the championship is McLaren. They've gone back in front of Ferrari. These two teams keep swapping every single race, but McLaren are on 156 points, Ferrari are on 152, and again, they have swapped. Red Bull sit lonely in P5 and remain lonely in P5 on 93 points. nowhere near the top 4 in the championship, but clear of the rest. Audi are on 46 points with Renault on 39. Jaguar are on 26 points. The reason they're on 26 points, in the last race, you would have seen them on 25 points. However, I always do a little bit of an extra bit of work, and I just add up the point totals just to make sure I've not made any mistakes, and I actually did. Jaguar were due an extra point that I did not award them. 26 points for them. BMW are on 3 points, crucially still ahead of Aston Martin in that battle at the bottom of the championship. But that is it for the Austrian Grand Prix. Let's get straight into the post-race notebook now and see what the teams and drivers had to say after this chaotic Grand Prix. Taking a look at the post-race notebook now, and Sam gets McLaren's first win of the season. It's taken 10 races for them to get their first win, but finally they managed to achieve it. Lando Norris was so close to P1 this weekend, but he just missed out thanks to a last lap overtake, and Rees comes across the line to claim P3. Speaking of that closer shave for P1, Norris was left frustrated by the last lap overtake. He felt like he had managed to get the strategy spot on, and he genuinely thought that with the battling that happened between Rees and Hamilton, it really gave him an opportunity to get all the way to the end. But after Sam made the overtake and cleared the 1 second barrier, meaning he had a clear run at Norris, he knew it was going to be very, very tough, but it hurt even more that it was on the final lap. Sam hails McLaren's efforts after his first win of the season. It's been a difficult season for McLaren. They've had many close attempts at getting victory, especially at the start of the season with 3 second places in a row. But finally, they got what he believes they thoroughly deserve. Now it's a case of whether McLaren can take on this victory and use the momentum to get forwards in the championship, or whether this is just a one-race wonder. As for Tom, a race was very, very difficult for him, very much struggling with overall pace, but one thing that Tom was happy about was the fact that his strategy gamble managed to pay off. Staying out on the medium compound tyres to the end of the race, nursing them, meant that instead of finishing in a potential P9, P10, he finished in P6 and got some crucial points in his damage limitation race. However, one thing that Tom noticed during this Grand Prix was the straight line speed deficit between himself and his main competitors, especially the Porsches of Carlos Sainz and also the Audi of Charles Leclerc. This is something that Tom fears may carry on into the Italian Grand Prix, meaning they could be in for a tough ride. But we'll soon find out when we head over to Monza next time around. But if you have enjoyed this video, feel free to drop it a like. If you're new around here and you enjoy the content you do see, please do subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care all. Peace.